Similar thing, which is to share with us, given the years of experience that they've had, what they think are some of the challenges in terms of teaching and learning. Where are some of the experimentations in trying to change what teaching and learning looks like, essentially? So we have a variety of folks here, and I actually don't have my paper in front of me anymore to remember all the introductions, but we have David Cantor from NISI, who is executive director there, I'm going to say off the top of my head. I'm going to make up the title, but he's very important there. We have Danny Bullock, is that how I pronounce your last name?
Sure, that's close.
From now at iMentor, and he was formerly at CUNY, yes. Right? We have Pam Mills, who is also currently at CUNY, and they can do better justice to themselves. And we have Russell West, who's actually from New Vision, who's heading up some of the math initiative work that we've been doing as an instructional specialist. So I will let Pam start, and you can do better justice to your background too.
So, first thing I'm going to tell you is that I made a huge mistake in my preparation today because I just maybe misunderstood what it is. So I just threw out my talk, and I'm going to give you something totally different. I want to thank the organizers for inviting me, and the afternoon was actually great, except it caused me to throw out my talk. So I've enjoyed the afternoon a lot. I've learned a lot. I've got a lot of ideas. And what I started off thinking I would talk about, because the state of the education in 7 minutes is a very strange thing to do, and it's kind of challenging. So I was going to talk about what is teaching and what does teaching mean from a college perspective. Let me introduce myself. I'm a chemistry professor at Hunter College. I've traditionally trained as a theoretical chemist, although I have to say I did all my, I'm not young, I did all my work on a computer, on computers that today, what took me 3 years would have taken me 30 days. But that's the change in computing power over time. But about 15 years ago, partly on a challenge, I got very involved in teacher education and started to move away from traditional research. And so now I consider myself a chemical educator, if you will. I've been really lucky to work with a team of teachers and professional development folks and educators on a new model for a high school science classroom. And that, I think, is what I want to talk about today. What this model is and how you even maybe experience it, because a lot of what's been said is relevant. So the title of my talk is not a title. It's two things I think you need to know. The model I want to talk about is called Peer-Enabled Restructured Classroom. It's what we call PERC. So I put it up here because I'm going to talk about PERC. The other thing I want to talk about is Teaching Assistant Scholars, which we call TASC. Right? And this is the model, and I'm going to ask you, we're going to do it, since I know I have time constraint, I'm going to work on a 1-minute thing. I'm going to ask you to experience this model. Okay, you've already been sort of doing it. This is a model that's done every day in the classroom with the teacher in the classroom and then peers as instructional assistants. Right? And it's very important. These peers that are the instructional assistants are generally 1 year older than the peers in the classroom. Specifically, we're looking at integrated algebra and living environment in the 9th and 10th grades. So I'm going to ask you to pretend that I'm your teacher and you're the student, and we're going to do an exercise. But the first thing I need is I need tags. So all of you are 9th graders except for some of you, right? And so I need a tag at each table. And so I don't want the people who are organizing it to do that. So raise your hand if you're actually a 10th grader. Oh, come on, you can do it. 1, 2, 3. All right, you are my tag. Okay, Ryan, Mike, and Matt. Okay, you're my tag, and I'm your teacher. And here's the exercise. This is integrated algebra, and we're doing an estimation exercise. And so, guys, get a group together. I want to know how many gallons of water fall over Niagara Falls every hour. Right? Now, the only thing I'm going to tell you, Taz, but you already know that, is we've already talked about it in the Taz class that we had yesterday. Niagara Falls is about 780 meters wide. Right? So, Taz, you are going to facilitate the discussion at your table. Remember the rules. Every kid must speak. Every kid must speak at least twice. Right? Don't let anyone dominate. Don't let anyone sleep. Okay? Go. 1 minute. 60 seconds.
Okay, so, alright, why how much water falls over the Niagara Falls? 9 is how? We'll say that when we
snuck in here and is wrecking that group. Raise your hand there. So if this were a real PERC class, I probably would have, aside from the 5-minute do now, what you would have done, I probably would have talked for about 10 minutes about something hopefully related to the exercise that you would do, and then you would have spent a lot more time than 1 minute doing it. But maybe you noticed, maybe you didn't, I sat with each table or I walked to each table, I listened to them. I did not interact with you, I listened to what was happening at your tables. Right? So as a teacher, what I've done is sort of in the classroom, I've let you do your do now, I've given you some direct instruction. We tell classes no more than 10 minutes every day, no more than 10 minutes every day. And then the rest of the time, I'm assessing what's going on, I'm taking notes, I'm listening. And you guys, Ryan, Matt, and Mike, you guys are teaching the class, all right? And so that's what we call the PERC class. Now, who are you guys? Are you guys the best students in the school? No. We take students from integrated algebra and living environments whose average reading score is 72. We're working with what one principal calls the invisible middle. Right? For those of you who know living environment and integrated algebra tests, you know 72 is not a very high score. And that's the average. It's passing, but it's not the average. And so this is a model, and I just wanted you to have some familiarity with the model. This is a model that right now we're working in 6 schools. We're partnered with Revisions, and we're at Hillcrest High School, which is in Revisions High School, and East Bronx Academy, and I believe one of you is from East Bronx Academy, right? Nobody? Probably saw it on the website. So, and I'll give you some statistics. This summer, we run the summer program, which is part of our professional development program. We had a 93% pass rate on the August exam for kids who had failed in June. That's really high, we just don't know. And we have about a 20% bump on Regents pass, and these are just some words that sound good. But what we're really becoming interested in is the pass. The 3 kids who were 10th graders who did okay but not great last year are now leaders in the classroom. And we want to know if as you become leaders in the classroom, and you're one of my students because I have class with you every day, if this is the way we can get you really on track for college. And we know right now you're not. Right? So if you're getting a 69 or 70 on the integrated algebra test, you take geometry, you'll be lucky if you get a 60. And if you go to take algebra 2 and you're lucky to pass, we know you're going to head to CUNY and other remedial programs, so we don't want that. So now that you're a TAS, and you're a leader, and you're a role model, you're supposed to come to school more often now, and you do, or you say you do, right? Does that start to change your trajectory? These are some questions. So that's sort of my 5 to 7 minute talk. That was the estimation. Here's my results. First of all, kids can do it. They do way more than they think, right? And it's amazing what they can do. They can successfully facilitate learning in the classroom, but they need to be taught, which then means the teachers have to become teacher educators. It's very interesting as the teachers move into a teacher-educator role. So, teaching. What is teaching? Well, I can tell you what it's not. It's not standing in the classroom for 45 minutes talking. Right? It really is no longer that. It's all about the back end. It's the planning part. It's the managing the task. It's the assessment, a critical assessment stage. But now you can actually hear and listen to the conversation. I could give you quotes of what teachers have said about it. Teachers report that this is a huge change in how they teach. Like, dramatically different way of teaching. For some teachers, it's hard because they like being in the front, right? And they know that it's really the best thing to move to step back. Teachers report that they hear conversations they've never heard before. So I think it's very interesting that there's a real change in the role of teaching. It completely reimagines what the teacher is. And the task experience is what we're studying right now. We've been doing this for about 4 years. We have funding from the National Science Foundation. And what we're really asking and interested in is what happens to the task. Do we have a pipeline for them? Can we change their trajectory towards CUNY's remedial program and send them on to be more fit for college? And I'm going to end there. It's not the talk I plan to do, but I think I also want to give you time to talk about this. We're asking questions.
Can you repeat for me that end?
Oh, all the way to the
Actually,
end?
no, that's 1 or 2 questions.
Are there any questions? Yes, Eric.
Where can we find
which is,
And generally, I'll be sharing back out all the presentations in our internal website, which you guys should all be aware of how to get to that. And at least for me, I'm thinking about, all those questions, and the reason why I was so interested in bringing Pam here is I think a lot of, it's just to emphasize how a lot of what we should be thinking about is what that student interaction looks like, what the teacher interaction looks like, and to understand where is that digital, where is that physical, how can you complement both. We've been talking a lot, especially in the last panel, about social collaboration, social knowledge, social exchange, and just seeing the physical way in which that's designed and redesigned, and just have that in our heads.
When I worked informally with having peer tutors and such, one of the situations I found is that sometimes the peer tutor will get impatient with the student as we get it and basically give them the answer and such. Do you find that happens, and how do you work
all
with
the
that?
time. So we have this class. We have to have a class. So we have a class to train the task, right? And that was one of our first set of experiments. What do the teachers have to do to make the task effective? And there has to be the class. You can't just have random kids coming into your regular class. And so you have to be working daily with the task. And so we have components of what that class has to look like. Remember, the tabs are not your superstars in content. So the teachers are very concerned about their content knowledge. And then the first set of pedagogical strategies they're taught is questioning strategies. The very first thing. Because what the tabs want to do is give you the answers. But what we try to do is move them as rapidly as possible away from giving the answers. And creating some simple rules. You got to ask 2 questions before you get an answer. That's it. Right? Just to try to move them out of that instinctual behavior.
And just the process of taking a teacher to being a teacher and instructor, that's really interesting, how that would be different, because you wouldn't think it's what it is.
Oh, it's completely different.
Yeah, what does that look like?
Well, so the first thing you're taking 2 people and you're switching their roles, right? So the students are going from students to now the teacher. And they say all kinds of crazy things like, wow, I never knew it was so hard to be a teacher. So, and then you do things like you take the teacher and you make the teacher educator. So now the teacher educator has to think about, why am I doing what I'm doing? And just that is a huge change. So finally having to sit down and getting a chance really to articulate why am I doing that. And if the teacher and the TAS have a good relationship, which all of them do, the TAS start saying things like, why did you do that? What about this? Or this is really hard for my students, can you do it again? So you actually have a really intimate feedback mechanism, which is some of the
Maybe can we save some of the questions towards the end because we have 3 other speakers?